The creators of Homelander must have the same fantasies as serial killers. He's worse than just an evil Superman. Someone flips him off, and he mows down thousands of people with his laser eyes. So because I'm also not all there mentally, I decided to make a game out of this scene, and I made it playable in 48 hours. When the season 4 trailer of The Boys dropped, I got stuck in an infinite loop rewatching it until the season came out. So to break myself out of that loop, I made this game. I'm not a 3D modeler, so the first thing I did was rope in my buddy Bjorn into the project so that he could start working on a 3D model for Homelander. Then I fired up Unity Hub and started a new project and ingeniously named it Homelander. I know, pure genius. Speaking of genius ideas, if you think this project is cooler than a penguin's pajamas, smash that like button. And hey, drop a comment below about penguins, as this is my 4th video in a row with a reference to penguins. To recreate the scene, I needed to replicate the environment and backdrop of New York where Homelander lives. I grabbed a couple of free 3D city asset packs from the asset store to build up the city. There's a distinct look to the ground Homelander and the people in the city are on, so I made sure to find a similar material. And then I built out my own ground using a cylinder and this material. Building an environment in Unity. Bjorn at this point was making great progress with a 3D model of Homelander. We had decided to go with the comic book look for Homelander and his costume instead of the TV one. Sometimes it's fun to mix things up and go classic. While Bjorn was sculpting our hero, I realized the default skybox was hideous, so I imported a nicer one from the Unity asset store. Much better. With our environment looking sharp, it was time to get Homelander airborne. I imported a free flying third-person controller and got it working within the project so that you could move and fly around. Bjorn had access to the project and could jump in whenever he needed to. So when he finished Homelander, he imported the model into the project himself, hooked it up to the controller so that you could move as Homelander and fly as him, and started refining the level design. We also set out with this project aiming for a more comic book, cartoony look. So Bjorn used FlatKit to nail the comic booky look using their outline, their shaders, and post-processing effects. Now onto the lasers. Hold up, before I get into the laser shenanigans, I need you to subscribe and ring that bell like you're trying to summon a superhero to save you from Homelander. I made a script called Laser Shooter to handle the raycasts from Homelander's eyeballs, spawning line renderers to represent the lasers. Pew pew, pew pew. Pew pew, pew pew. Sound effects time. Finding a good and free laser sound online was a nightmare, so I made my own. I've never made a sound effect before, so 3 hours and 3 iterations later, and I had something decent. The lasers didn't move properly with Homelander as he moved, which looked jank as hell, so I had directly attached the line renderers to the rig, making them move dynamically with Homelander as he moved. Next up, Ragdolls. I imported civilian 3D models to make up the people, and I applied Ragdoll physics to one model to begin testing Ragdoll. I made a script for managing the Ragdoll state, and I made a laserable script to assign to anything that should be affected by the laser. Using the laserable script, I switched them to a ragdoll state and applied force to them when they got zapped. Watching them flop around was oddly satisfying. Dismemberment was the next gruesome touch to be added. Bjorn separated the limbs and added them to the project. I expanded the scripts to make the limbs on the base model invisible when hit by a laser, spawning separated limbs that Bjorn had made for a gory effect. Because what's a laser without a little dismemberment? Something felt like it was missing though. I tried some post-processing effects, but they all looked ugly. One effect made so many outlines that the screen basically turned black. I reverted all of the post-processing effects, added an exploding sound instead for extra oomph. I also used a cartoon explosion effect from a VFX pack I have for when someone gets lasered. It looked awesome. I finally felt lasering was in a good place. Then I wanted music for the game, so I decided to try AI music. Mostly it seemed to just want to generate random metal tracks, which I didn't feel like fit the game at all, so I just downloaded Homelander's official theme song for use with the main menu. Up until now, all of my work only applied to the one civilian model that I had used for testing. I spent the next hours setting up every other civilian with ragdoll physics, body parts, VFX, sound effects, and scripts. It's the eye of the game or the thrill of the fight. Tedious, but worth it. I had a song ready for the main menu, but no main menu. So I set up an intense looking main menu using a custom font and an image of a burning American flag as the background for the main menu. I also made a script for managing the music, switching the music from Homelander's main track to the AI track when you went from the main menu into the gameplay. I needed more sounds to further enhance the atmosphere and immersion of the game. Sounds made specifically for psychopaths like Homelander to enjoy. I added crowd booing sounds to help push you mentally over the edge, and crowd panic and freaking out sounds for when you give in to your darkest desires. Finally, I copy-pasted civilians until there was a huge crowd in front of Homelander. If you want to play the game, click the link down below to join the Discord and play for free. I showed Bjorn the game so far to get his reaction on how I used his art.
Oh my no, you don't like Vogue? Well, see ya! Oh, bam! Holy shit, that is awesome.
We had forgotten one crucial element, the people's anti-Homelander signs. So Bjorn whipped up a couple signs and I added them quickly to the game. And the game is finally actually done. If you want to watch another game dev vlog, click the video on the screen. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need a nap.